Hey guys, and welcome back to Live, Love, Life, and Travel. This is your girl Shamika, and if you're new here, welcome. Just to let you know, I usually upload my travel topic videos throughout the weekdays and my free talk and my story time videos on the weekends. So if you're interested, please hit that subscribe button. Today's topic of conversation is going to actually be a tough one for me to talk about because I don't like talking about this because it just makes me feel like icky, and it makes me feel like I'm like pounding on a particular race or culture of people. But I feel like I need to talk about this because I avoided it for the last couple of times I went to Malaysia. I did talk about an incident that happened to me in Malaysia, but like I kind of feel like I handle the situation with like kid mittens because I don't want to come off like I'm saying like this whole race of people is bad or whatever. But anyway, I just feel like I need to talk about it because I feel like it's a safety issue. But no, not a safety issue. Maybe, I don't know. If you're traveling to Malaysia as a single solo female, I feel like this is something that you should know and you should hear. Yeah. So let's get started. So the first few times, like I've been to Georgetown or Penang, Malaysia like 6 times now. I really do love Malaysia, and even this situation is not going to stop me from going to Malaysia. But the first few times, I guess like it didn't feel as bad, and the few times it did happen, I kind of just like brushed it off, and then yeah, like. But then it just like increasingly got worse and worse and worse. And like if you know what I'm talking about, my last story, there was a situation where I was walking down the street and it was like 3 or 4 Indian men back to back like approaching me, and not a violent aggressive way. Like I didn't feel like I was gonna get hurt physically, but it made me feel really uncomfortable. Where, yeah, oh gosh, I like this video is gonna be all over the place. The last time I was in Malaysia, I stayed in Malaysia for like actually a couple of months, and you were like, oh, if it's so bad, Shamika, why did you stay there? Because it's uncomfortable, but it's not uncomfortable to like run you out of the country. It's just uncomfortable, and it's just something I really noticed. And I talked to a couple other women, girls who were there, and they noticed it as well, especially Black women. And I mentioned this before in other videos where I don't know if like there's a rumor that Black women are very sexual or sexually adventurous or just don't have any standards and would just sleep with anybody. There is, a portion, or just not a portion, but there is a hotel that was at the end of Love Lane on Julian, where there were some Black prostitutes there. I don't really see them there anymore, but they were there for the first few times I went to Malaysia. And then I know I've seen programs where Black people who live native Indians, but they're Black. They're like their parents from Africa moved over to India, years ago, and they were born and raised in India, but they're Black. They're African immigrants. And talking to the women, they would say they always get mistaken as prostitutes. Like they always think they're prostitutes. So I would say I don't know if it's that, or they just think Black women are beautiful, or is their culture. I don't know. And again, I have to say this is definitely hashtag not all. I would say 85% of the Indian men who approach me are nice and cordial and decent human beings. But it's just, I don't know, it's becoming increasingly every single time I go back there, it seems like it was worse than the last time. Last time I was there for a couple of months, and I stayed at the place I usually always stay at, which is Stewart House, and it's in that square where all the Love Lane area is, where all the bars are and the shops and the hostels and hotels. It's right in that area, right in Georgetown. Good area. But right across the street from it, it's one of the most expensive hotels in that area. I don't know the name of it on top of my head, but it's one of the most expensive hotels in the area, and it's right across the street. And the streets are pretty narrow, so it almost feel like you can just touch across the street. It's pretty narrow, and there are some men who would clean up the area every day, and they would come to the top floor every single day, like every single day, multiple times a day, and I would sit out on the patio and work on my computer and just stare at me. And I'm not like being like conceited or, oh, it's all in your head, Shamika. Like, no, stare down at me. And sometimes they would try to get my attention by making little noises, and if I would try not to glance up, but when I do glance up, they would make like hey baby, like looks like hey baby, like those type of gestures to me. And I'm just like, okay. And I was just like, but it was like every day, multiple times a day, almost for the entire time I was there. You would think like they would get sick of it, but they would just like, it was almost like I felt like they were purposely trying to make, they knew I felt uncomfortable and they didn't care. Like they were like, oh, let's just make her more uncomfortable by just staring at her. That was annoying. I can feel myself like you're like, when you feel like you're on the edge of like going off on somebody. I felt like there are times where I feel like I was gonna like start to yell at them and be like, what the fuck, like stop fucking staring at me, you fucking rude motherfuckers. But I never did. And then there was other things like if I like walk down the street, especially at night, and it happened in the daytime too, like random Indian guys would stop beside me on their bike and just be like, hey, get on, come on, get on. Without like saying hi or like what's your name or who, like it was just almost like they just expected me to get on their bike. And it was like, why do you expect me to just jump on your bike? Like, what do you think, who do you think I am? It would just be like, get on. And it would happen like all the time. Or they would just touch you, you'd be walking by and they'll just grab your arm or grab your hand or touch a piece of your clothing. It would just like, I don't know. It wasn't like I ever felt like I was in danger. Like I never felt like they were gonna do something to me, but it just made me feel uncomfortable to the point where like if I was walking towards the Indian guy, like I would like go across the street, or I would put some distance between me and him because it was like, okay, he might touch me or he might do something or whatever. And then like it was the other time where like an Indian guy literally tried to come up to me and kiss me like on the street, just kiss me. Like, why do you think I'm like okay with that? Like it's just weird. And I do think it's a lot. I've heard of like black people say it too, but not a lot. Like and I know people might be like, how do you know it's because you're black? Because I'm very observant, and there have been a couple of situations where I've met another black girl in Penang, and we'll be hanging out with other white girls, and Indian guys will come by and completely skip over the white girls and only pay attention to us. Which it wasn't a good attention. Like, it was like they will, I don't know, is that type of look where you feel like someone's already like sees you naked and they're already like fucking you or something. Like it's a look that makes you feel dirty, and it's a look that makes you feel like you need to go take a shower. It doesn't make you feel beautiful, it doesn't make you feel wanted, it doesn't make you feel desired. It makes you feel like less than. It makes you feel gross. Like they're looking at you like you're disgusting or something. Like not like a disgusting look, but like I don't know, like I can't describe it. But if you're a female, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's not a good feeling. And so they would skip over the white girls and stop at us and be like, "Oh, hey baby," like like what? Like these, it's not like the white girls were like butterfaces. Like they were attractive. So it's like why are you skipping over? So I feel like it is a race thing. I'm not saying like they only do that to black girls, but I feel like it's something to do with race when it comes to hitting on black girls. And I almost compare it to, and like don't be offended by this, but I almost compare it to like the black guys I grew up with, but on like times 100. You know how like black guys like roll up in their car and they're like, hey baby, like hey get in the car, like hey shorty, like always like walking up to you, hey baby, like what's your name, like oh get in your pants, like, they always talking you up, and to the point like if you live in certain neighborhoods, to the point where like you don't even want to like go to certain areas because you're gonna have to deal with that. Like it was kind of like that, but like on 10, like it was more, because I feel like with like like with like black guys, if you say no, if you like just no, I'm good, they would either call you a bitch or they would just leave you alone. I feel like with the Indian guys, it was like they would just keep going. There were times where it didn't bother me. There were times where it should have just like run off my shoulder and it was fine. And there were times where it just bothered me a lot. But it wasn't enough to like ruin my time. But it was enough to be like really, really frustrating. And it's like, okay, I'm done with it. Like, you guys can stop now. Like, you see me every day. It's been a couple months. Like, you can stop harassing me now. Like, you should be bored of seeing me. Just like I feel like it's not necessary to talk about being black in every country you go to, but I do think it's necessary if it's something that you might notice. So I feel like as a female, you might notice this, especially as a black female. And it's like I feel like Malaysia is pretty much the only place where I still go out at night and I still do stuff, but I second think it. It's the only place where I'm like, is it too late to go out? Like, I won't walk down certain streets at nighttime, and the only place where I dress way more modestly than I would dress somewhere else, because I just want to like do my best to like ward off any attention, which it doesn't usually help anyway. You know, and I don't have to think about those things when I'm in Thailand or when I'm and where else? When I was in Indonesia, when I was in Cambodia, like I don't have to, you know, Laos. I didn't have to think about those things, but I have to think about the things when I'm in Malaysia. I still love Malaysia, and I'm still gonna visit Malaysia. It's just something I always like. When it happens, it's annoying, but it's like I don't know. Yeah. I always I always wondered if I would be able to live in Malaysia, and now I know like I wouldn't, especially in at least not that part of Malaysia, because I couldn't deal with that. I would never stay in Malaysia for that long ever again, though. I have to say that, because that was a long stay. I wouldn't stay in Malaysia that long. If I go to Malaysia, it would be short trips from now on, and I think that's why it bothered me more, because it was a longer stay. And I stayed in Malaysia for so long because I was waiting for passports and stuff like that. But like, yeah, I don't think I would stay in Malaysia for that long of a stay anymore. I do have to say, when I was in Kuala Lumpur, it wasn't like that. Like when I was in Kuala Lumpur, the place I stayed was near an Indian community, and they weren't like that. If they might like glance at you or you might get some looks, but for the most part, they didn't even seem like they give a shit that you're there. It's more like that in Georgetown, and it wasn't just Indian men. There were also Malaysian men and Chinese men who did the same thing, but it was a majority. An overwhelming majority was Indian men. And like I said, it was hashtag not all. It was a large amount of Indian guys that I came in contact with that were nice and cordial and just decent, but it was just enough that I noticed it, and it was frustrating and annoying to me. And again, it could have been more apparent to me because I stayed there a longer amount of time. But it was just like every day, multiple times a day, it was going to happen. I could every single time. And it could be like a cultural thing. It could be a very like macho, masculine thing that's just in their culture. It might not even, maybe it has nothing to do with me being black. Maybe it's not like they're preying on women. It's just like, maybe it's just a cultural thing. Because even like the little Indian teenager kids, like even the kids do the same thing. Like the little teenage boys that look like they're like 13 will come up to me and be like, "Hey, baby," like, "Ooh, mama," you know, they would do the same thing. So I feel like it's even like the little ones. Like I was in the beach, and like the little kids, like give you like, "Oh yeah," like a look. Like so I feel like it could just be like that's just how they're raised as men, like to be like to women. I don't know. I'm trying not to sound like like I'm picking on them, but like I just feel like as a woman, I want to tell other women, like, there might be something you might notice. It might be something that you don't want to deal with. It might be something that you can't handle, or just be aware of your surroundings, be aware of your own body language, and make sure you're not, because like there are a lot of harmless flirtation social cues that women and men can sort of exchange, and will maybe never lead to anything, and there's no idea, like the guy, like, oh, she's just being like harmlessly flirting with me, like a laugh or a touch on the knee or touch on the shoulder or just lingering too long or a hug that's too long. Like those things can be seen as like, oh, you're inviting me over for like tonight, you know what I mean? So just be like aware of your body language and stuff like that, and just, I don't know. But again, I'm gonna still go to Penang, but I don't think I would ever stay there for that long ever again, because it was towards the end I was ready to like blow up on somebody. Like I was like, enough is enough, like you need to stop. And it's not like I didn't stick up for myself, and it's not like I wasn't like, no, like, but being that I was going to be around there, I was going to make like this giant scene, and I would have if I felt like it was getting like dangerous. But like I said, I never felt like my life was in danger. I never felt like they were going to do something to me. It was just like annoying and really uncomfortable to deal with like all the time. Like once in a while, okay, but it was like every day, multiple times a day, and I'm not even like exaggerating. So yeah, I just thought I'd just put that out there. Yeah, so if you have any questions, like just leave it in the comment section below. If you ever dealt with that, or if you ever dealt with that as a single female in any other country you've ever been to, you know, put it in the comment section below. Like this video if you want to like it, share if you want to share it, if you want to continue to follow me on this crazy beautiful game called life. Please subscribe, hit that bell so you get the notifications when I do upload. And if you want to continue to support this channel, please donate to my PayPal or my Patreon. The links are below, and all my social media links are below, my Instagram, my Twitter, and my Facebook. And thank you from Live, Love, Life, and Travel.
Good time along, got no love to be scared. Good out, alright, all alone. Let's be left alone, let's be left alone. Good time along, got no love to be scared. Good out, alright, all alone. Let's be left alone, let's be left alone.